let's not make the mistake of not connecting the dots. What do I mean? You know, I've had the privilege and honor of being the governor of the state. There's no greater job in the world for a little over a year and a half. And I can tell you that during that year and a half, we have confronted together 4 major storms. We talk about Irene, but when we talk about Irene, we're talking about 4 major storms. A year ago, February, we had the biggest blizzard ever recorded in Vermont history. I keep saying to my Flatlander friends, we're not talking about South Carolina here, we're talking about a snow state. Biggest snowstorm ever recorded. Then we had in April, the floods of April, and you know well about them. Destroyed houses, destroyed businesses, destroyed roads, bridges, culverts. Called in FEMA, did the whole thing. Then we had the storms of May, another 10 or 12 inches dumped on parts of the state, rain in a short period of time. And then we had Irene in August. I'll never forget the woman up in Bonneville when we dropped in there by chopper. Extraordinary devastation. She comes up to me, she's got a rain gauge in her hand. She says, Governor, I've been measuring rain for years. I've lived in Bonneville all of my life. I want you to see this rain gauge. She takes it out, and it's at 12.5 inches, dropped in Bonneville, Vermont in 6 hours. Same thing you saw in Rochester. Listen, when you turn on the radio or the TV and you hear that they're debating whether it's the biggest droughts ever recorded in the history of America going on right now in the food belt where all our food comes from, forcing farmers to pay higher prices for grain, just pushing them out of business, forcing consumers to pay more for food, and that's coming. When you hear about the forest fires raging in the West, debating whether it's the worst forest fire season ever, when you hear that the polar bears are having trouble finding ways to stay alive because the ice is melting in the northern caps so quickly that they cannot keep up with the melting ice, I ask you to connect the dots with me. If there's any gift that we can give our kids and grandkids, it's the simple realization that these storms, that Irene is climate change related, is a result of the choices we've made about burning oil and burning coal. The sooner we get off our addiction to those resources and move to renewables, we give our kids a planet that is livable. Less challenges, less loss of life, less wildfires, less droughts in the food belt. We got to do it together. So let's hit the big picture too, in joining together to ensure that our commitment to stopping and changing the way that we deal with energy in Vermont and in this nation. That's the lesson from these storms.